Hey everyone, it's Christy and I'm back to encourage you and remind you to be aware of what you already have, of who you are and what you already have right now happening on the inside of you. You already have every desire that you could ever want to experience in this 3D world. As a matter of fact, I'm learning that there really is no 5D, 3D, because everything comes from the so-called 5D or spiritual world, okay? So whatever you're focusing on, in here, inside, is going to reflect out here. And that's why I'm kind of doing this video like this, because I set it up to where you can see a shadow. You see my hand, but you see the shadow. That shadow is not the real thing, but my hand is. So everything that's going on the inside of you right now, every desire that you want to experience is happening right now on the inside of you, and that's the real thing. So if you're experiencing something out here and it's not bringing you light, if you will, or happiness or joy or peace, then that means that it's not the real thing. It's just an inverted thought that's projecting out here as a shadow. It's not real. And so that leads me to what I really want to talk to you about today. And that is, before I jump into this though, I want to say, if you like my videos, go ahead and like this video at the end. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already and you've been watching me and you like these videos, go ahead and subscribe and tell your friends about this channel too, and your family, so they too can start being aware and encouraged of what they already have. And so what I wanted to talk to you about today is the reason why I stopped going to church, at least consistently. And so, many years ago, well, you heard one of my videos, some of you might have. It was one of my bigger videos on here about 3-4 years ago, maybe. And I talked briefly on there about what I went through, and about 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago. And, what got me on this path of really, truly operating from the renewing mind. And so as I started learning more and more from other people, and I was manifesting, for lack of better words, or I was, projecting out here that I wanted to learn more. I felt like something was missing, although nothing's ever missing. There's nothing missing, nothing broken in our life. But my awareness, what I was aware of, that's where it was missing, in my awareness. And so the more I started seeking out within myself, and asking for more clarity on what this life is really all about, people just kind of started popping up into my life. And there ended up being two people who I really started trusting. And, at first I didn't really, know if what they were teaching from the Bible and scripture was correct. But there came a time when I'm like, there's no denying it. Because they were teaching from the Hebrew and some of the Greek, but really Hebrew, and now one teacher is teaching from Aramaic. And it just registered with me. It just resonated with me, I should say. It just started clicking with me. And it was almost too good to be true. But I was like, this has to be true, because it's really clicking with me. It might not have been something that I was used to, or what was already programmed into my brain since I was a little girl sitting on, a long bench at church and Sunday school and singing, hymn songs and little kid Christian songs and things like that. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I personally still listen to Christian music and worship music, if you will. But there's sometimes when I'm like, I can't listen to a certain song anymore, which brings me back, and there's nothing bad about it. And this is just for me and my experience. So I'm not here to, down going to church or listening to certain types of worship music. But I will say that we do have to watch our ear gate and our eye gate and what we take in. And I just got to the point that every time I went to church, I had to sit there in my head and kind of correct things for myself and the way I was starting to understand it. I'm not saying they were right or wrong or I'm right or wrong, but I'm just saying the way I was starting to understand it and what was working for me, I had to correct things in my head. Now, sometimes they would say things that were on point. And even certain songs, when I would be singing them, I would be like, no, 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 I'm not, I don't, oh God, I need you, I need you, I need you type of songs and stuff. And like I said, if people are still listening to that, that's fine. But for me, I was like, I already have God. I already have everything right on the inside of me. I've already been given the abundant life. So I don't, in fact, kind of need, it's not a needy thing. I already have. And so, it was starting to confuse my brain. And so I'd have to kind of like work even harder on getting certain things out, because those were the most dominant thoughts in my head about the way I was, trained. And I'm not blaming anybody for this. I know everybody that has been taught a certain way and they think they're helping people, and they might still be right. They are right, because in fact, we're all right. Okay, whatever you think is true, you're right. That's true for you, okay? And that's just how I look at things now. And I'm just like, hold on one second. My TV timed out on me, or I had it muted and I had it, anyway, it timed out on me. And so, so that's why I personally, I still go periodically. I haven't been for a long, long time, but that's why I personally kind of had to stop going to church, and I just listened to, a couple of people online that teaches about, manifestation in a way. And I don't listen to every teacher that teaches from the Bible, if you will. A lot of them do. There's a lot of manifestation teachers out there. I heard one guy say one day, don't get your panties all in a bunch because I'm using scripture. And I was like, that's good, because the Bible is truly like it is an instruction booklet or book, for us. And it does teach a ton about manifestation. In fact, a lot of the stories are about us, from what I'm learning. So I just wanted to share that with you. And I think that honestly, and I'm going to say this lightly, but I really don't think that I might not even still be here in this so-called 3D world right now if I would have kept, for me personally, if I would have kept going down the path I was going down and believing. Because I was taught I had to ask for forgiveness for every little thing. I was always feeling guilty, and it made me really sick. And that wasn't the only thing that made me really sick, physically. There were other things that went on in my life, a lot of things that broke down my body. And as I started operating from the renewing mind, meaning what was true already on the inside of me, what I already had health and wholeness, and there was nothing wrong with me, and then I'm already forgiven, and so are you. That doesn't mean we just go out and do, for me anyway, whatever we want, as long as, we're doing things that are benefiting ourselves and others, And so I believe that that's how we're supposed to operate. I don't believe that I, can just go out there and do whatever I want, hurt people, if you will, emotionally, physically, or in any way, shape, or form, mentally, or with my words or whatever, because, that's would be coming from the inside of me or anyone, and my thought process, because everything reflects out here like a movie projector. And so then that would be also, not benefiting myself or others. So my point is that, I just truly, I say it lightly, but, because I don't know for sure, I know that I've had people pray over me and stuff before, and it was temporary. I will say this, that I truly do believe that even if I would have experienced, my healing, which I had before, it would have been very temporary. But now the fruit remains because of going within. So that's why I just wanted to say I've personally kind of stopped going to church consistently, but that doesn't mean that I don't still listen to, Even the church that I'd gone to for like 20 years or more was highly involved in. Love the people there. It served me well for a lot of people. I served there and helped other people a lot, but I for myself, I just had to kind of get away from that, and at least temporarily, because it just wasn't working for me anymore. And I'm not to say that that doesn't work for you or whatever, but I did, like I said, I'm still, a true believer and have faith in a lot of the things that I grew up with, but it's just in a different way now, if you will, and learning the true, deeper spiritual meaning. And that as a man thinks, so is he. And it just, as we plant seeds, if you will, into our subconscious, they are going to project out here. The more they grow, whatever we focus on the most is what we're going to experience. So I've been I've been operating from the renewing mind to renew those pathways in my mind, in my brain, in my subconscious, I should say, to get that other stuff out of there, out with the old, in with the new, and operate from who I've always truly been. And I couldn't do that it was double-mindedness, if you will. So we can't operate from double-mindedness, or the fruit's not going to remain of what we already have. And we already have the abundant life. And remember, just like you see these shadows, those shadows aren't the real thing. What's within us is the real thing projecting out here. And if it's not light, if you will, out here, if it's not bringing you joy and happiness and makes you feel really good and peaceful, and you don't feel peace, if you're not feeling peace all the time, it's just those shadows. It's happening, but it's not the real thing, okay? So keep going within and operating from the renewing mind that you are already healthy and wealthy and whole and peaceful and joyful, and that you are worthy and that you deserve everything that God has already provided for us. And that, just to be still and know that He is God, that you are one with that operate from non-duality, that you are in just completely one with that. There's no separation, okay? And what does the be still mean? The be is think on being peaceful. Think on it, that you are peaceful. Still does mean peace when I research that out. And know that you already have everything. And that the more you focus on that, the more you're going to experience it. And it's going to renew those pathways in your brain, in your subconscious. They're going to align your awareness, your conscious, and your subconscious. They're going to align. And then you are going to be in that state of awareness that remains. That you're whole and that there's nothing missing and nothing broken. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.